All right, so remember lesson 1 is on chance experiments. What are the chances of something happening? So let's dive into probability. What is probability? So it says here, probability is a measure of how likely it is that an event will happen. How likely it is that the event is going to happen. Now it's indicated by a number between 0 and 1. So when you think probabilities, they're going to go from 0 to 1, somewhere in between there. But a lot of times, like when we talk about, oh, there's a 40% chance of rain and things like that. So remember, if we want to change these to percents, 0% stays the same, but 1 is 100%. Okay, so you got to understand that when we talk about something a certainty or 100% it's happening, these kind of are the same thing. Okay, they are the same thing in terms of probability. So, for example, consider a bag that contains only red cubes. That's it. If you were to select one from the bag, you are certain to pick a red one. There are no other choices. We say an event is certain to happen, has a probability of 1. So there's a word, right? Certain. Okay, likely, unlikely, equally likely, certain. If you were to reach in the same bag of cubes, it's impossible to select a yellow cube. There's an important word, impossible. Okay, an impossible event has a probability of 0. So basically, we're going from impossible to certain, definite, gonna happen. Okay, as I struggle to write. Okay, and that's what this table is really going to be here. So we just kind of want to talk our way through here. It gives us a description for this lesson, kind of like the 5 different levels of likeliness. And we're not necessarily dealing with numbers right now, okay? Except 0 and 1, 0 and 100%. Okay, and then we have an example and an explanation. So let's just kind of dig through this. Some events are impossible. They have a probability of 0. Cannot happen, okay? Winning the lotto is not impossible, even though it'll probably never happen in my lifetime, right? Because there's a small, tiny chance. Impossible means cannot happen. So it says you have a bag with 2 green cubes. You select one. Selecting a blue cube is an impossible event, okay? Because there's no way to select a blue cube if there are no blue cubes in there, okay? Impossible, cannot happen. Some events, though, are certain, and they have a probability of 1. So you have a bag with 2 green cubes in it, just like before. But this time, you want to select a green one. That's all that's in there. You're going to grab a green cube out. You will always get a green cube if there are only green cubes in the bag. So that's certain, probability of 1, or 100% chance that's going to happen. All right, so those are the extremes, and then everything else kind of falls in the middle. Some events are classified as equally likely to occur or not to occur. They have a probability of a half. Okay, so if you have impossible and certain, equally likely to occur or not to occur, falls halfway in between them. So if you have a bag with 1 blue cube and 1 red cube, well, selecting a blue cube is going to happen like equally likely, okay? There's an equally likely chance. Since the bag is half made up of blue cubes and half made up of red cubes, 50-50 chance, equally likely, of selecting a blue cube, and 50-50 chance, equally likely, of not selecting a blue cube. So you can think of it that way too. There's a 50% chance, 50-50 chance of grabbing one. There's a 50-50 chance of not grabbing one. Okay, so that's the middle. And then we have in between 0 and like half and 100, or 1. Some events are more likely to occur than not to occur. These events have a probability greater than 0.5, and we describe them as likely. Not certain, okay, but it's likely to happen. So if you have a bag that contains 8 blue and 2 red, and if you want to get a blue one out, chances are you're going to. Is it certain though? No, because there's some red ones in there. Excuse me. And it says even though it's not certain, because there's more blue cubes in there, it's more likely that you're going to get a blue. Now, on the flip side, events that are less likely to occur than not to occur, they have a probability that is less than 0.5, less than half, and we call them unlikely. So same thing, if you have 8 blue cubes, and we should have picked a different word for easier to say, and 2 red cubes, it's unlikely that you're in a red one. Not impossible, You could still do it. It's just unlikely. Okay? So that's kind of the range that we're going to be dealing with in this lesson. Okay. So here's our probability scale. Okay? And this is going to be helpful for your homework. Okay? Notice that we're going from 0, impossible, to 1, certain. Okay? So we're going to decide where these events are going to occur. All right, so here are the events. What are the chances, okay, that we are, event A right here, right, that we're going to see a live dinosaur on the way from school today? Now, we're not playing what if games. We're not playing, hey, this is a descendant of a dinosaur. An actual T-Rex walking down the street, or a Brontosaurus, or whatever, a Velociraptor, I don't know. What are the chances, okay? That is impossible. It is not going to happen. There are no more live dinosaurs, okay? So, how about if you drop a solid rock in water and it sinks? Okay? Take some water, you drop a rock in it. Is it impossible for it to sink? Is it certain for it to sink? Does it kind of choose? Half the time it sinks, half the time it doesn't. Yeah, that's certain, right? And that's, you talk about its density and all that good stuff. It's going to happen, okay? A solid rock will sink in water. All right, so now this next one here, okay, again, working on our probability scale. A round disc with one side red and the other side yellow. So kind of like a coin, one side's red, one side's yellow. We want to know the probability it will land yellow side up. Well, it's either be red or yellow. One side's red, one side yellow, so it kind of seems like it's equally likely to occur. Right? Kind of 50-50. A spinner with 4 equal parts. So if I draw my rough circle here and we squint, it has 4 equal parts, numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the probability it's going to land on the 4? Well, kind of like 1 out of 4, right? So is it certain to land on the 4? No. Is it impossible to land on the 4? No. Is it equally likely? No. So then we have to decide if it's unlikely or likely. So is it more like, do we plan on it landing on the 4? Or probably more unlikely, right? Because there's only 1 chance we have at the 4, but 3 that it's not going to be 4. Not impossible, but we're going to say unlikely. All right, so how about your full name will be drawn when a full name is selected at random from a bag containing the full names of all the students in your class. So think of your classmates, okay? Put everybody's name in a bag, and I draw it out. How likely is it that your name's going to be that one? Probably not a very good chance, is it? Okay, somebody has to be drawn, so it's not impossible, okay? But is it more likely to spin the spinner and get a 4, or have your name drawn out when there's like 20 kids in your class? It's closer to impossible. I'm not going to say that it's impossible, but it's less likely than that spinner one. Okay, so we don't just have to match it up exactly on those 5 words, because sometimes things are more unlikely or less unlikely, right? More likely or less unlikely. So you kind of got to find the range they go in. All right, almost done. A red cube will be drawn when a cube is selected from a bag that has 5 blue and 5 red. And I want a red one? Well, 5 blue, 5 red, they have equally likely chance. All right, and the last one. Tomorrow's temperature will be a negative 250 degrees. Has it ever been a negative 250 degrees outside? Not even with wind chill, okay? So I know there's some of you might argue, saying, well, it's possible. So I'll give you that, maybe move it a little bit to the right off of impossible here. Maybe I didn't do that real well, but it's impossible. Okay, that's never happened before. Now, just because something has never happened doesn't mean it never will. I've never won the lotto. It could happen, but reaching those temperatures isn't going to happen. Okay, like I said, if you want to argue and put it over a little bit, I'll give you that, but don't move it over too much. Okay. All right. So this probability scale, I think that's it, is really what we're focused on. We're diving into probabilities, and we're talking about the likelihood of things happening. What is the chances of something happening? The chances of something happening are always going to fall between impossible to certain. It'll be up to us to decide how likely or unlikely or equally likely it is to happen.